My sister told my boyfriend I was the lesser twin and cut the brakes on my bike the morning of our anniversary. But my mom didn't care, because to her, thinness equals value. Fast forward to today. They're crying when they see themselves in the mirror. I'm not really sure where to start. My therapist says I should write things down, that giving structure to the chaos might help me heal. So here I am, posting to strangers on Reddit because it's the only place I can be completely honest. I'm a twin. You'd think that would mean having a built-in best friend, someone who understands you in a way no one else can. But that's not what I got. My twin sister, Lila, and I shared a face, a birthday, and a home, but never a bond. From the beginning, it was clear that in our house, there was only room for one of us to shine. Our mother decided that early on. Lila was the prettier one, the slimmer one, the one with potential. She'd say that out loud, sometimes laughing, sometimes with this cruel casualness, like she was commenting on the weather. I was the other one. She never called me by my name when she didn't have to. Just Lila's sister or, on a bad day, the heavy one. Thinness equaled value in our house. You could be brilliant, kind, creative, but none of that mattered if you couldn't wear a size 2. And Lila? She learned that fast. She learned how to weaponize it, too. It started small. She'd accidentally leave diet books on my bed when we were 13. Comment on my thighs when I wore shorts. Tell boys I had a crush on that I had hygiene issues or that I was super clingy. At first, I thought she was just teasing. But then she started flirting with my boyfriend at the time, Josh, my first real relationship in high school. Josh was sweet, kind of quiet, into photography. He liked the parts of me no one else seemed to notice. The stories I wrote in secret, my laugh, the way I obsessed over old horror films. Lila hated that. She hated that he picked me. At dinner one night, while our mom was obsessively weighing steamed vegetables and lecturing us on the evils of carbs, Lila casually said to Josh, "Did you know I'm actually the older twin?" Mom said I came out first, which technically makes me the alpha. She smiled at me across the table, eyes like knives. Josh laughed, thinking it was a joke. I knew better. That's how it always started, with little digs, small lies. But it got darker. The week before my anniversary with Josh, our 2-year anniversary, he got weirdly distant. I thought maybe he was stressed about school, or maybe I'd done something wrong. I was planning this picnic for us. I'd even saved up for a film camera I knew he'd been eyeing. I wanted everything to be perfect. Then Lila cornered me in the hallway the night before and said, "You shouldn't get too comfortable. You're the lesser twin. You always have been." She said it like it was a fact, like I was a chair with one broken leg. I didn't know yet what she'd done. The next morning, I decided to take my bike to the park early and set up the picnic spot. I rode that bike everywhere. It was old but dependable, and it got me out of that suffocating house. I remember it so vividly, the breeze on my face, the weight of the picnic basket strapped to the back, the stupid butterflies in my chest from trying to make someone feel loved. Until I reached the bottom of the hill by the lake and squeezed the brakes. Nothing. No resistance. Just air. I slammed my foot down, tried to swerve, but I was going fast, too fast, and I hit a fence post hard. I don't remember the actual moment of impact, just waking up on the gravel, tasting blood, and the sickening jolt of realization. Someone had cut the brakes. Josh never showed up at the picnic. When I finally got hold of him that night, dizzy from painkillers and road rash, he told me Lila had stopped by that morning. Told him I was having body image issues, that I'd gotten clingy and paranoid. That he should maybe take a step back. She had cried, apparently. Told him I was jealous of her, that I resented her for being more feminine, more desirable. And the worst part? My mother, our mother, when I told her what happened, she didn't even flinch. "You're fine," she said, flipping through a fitness magazine. "It's not like you died. But someone cut my brakes. That could've." "Don't be dramatic," she snapped. "You always overreact." Maybe if you spent more time exercising instead of reading those depressing books, your thighs wouldn't rub together and boys wouldn't leave you for your sister. I was 16. And I knew, right then, that I was on my own. The bruises on my ribs took weeks to fade. The scrape on my cheek scarred faintly, just below my left eye. But the worst injury wasn't physical. It was realizing no one gave a damn. Not the boyfriend who ghosted me after my sister cried into his hoodie and called me unstable. Not the mother who wiped her mascara in the mirror 5 minutes after I came home bloodied and limping, muttering that I'd ruined my face. Not Lila, who strutted into my room while I lay in bed the next day, clutching an ice pack to my hip, and dropped a pair of brake cables on my nightstand. "I found these in the garage," she said, smiling. "Weird, right? You should really keep an eye on your stuff." Then she walked out like she hadn't just confessed to attempted murder in the creepiest way possible. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? My mother would call me dramatic. Lila would twist it, like she always did, claim I'd lost control of the bike, that I was trying to pin my own carelessness on her out of jealousy. And Josh? He wasn't taking my calls anymore. So I sat in that bed and stared at the ceiling fan and wondered if this was just my life now. Trapped in a house where I didn't matter. Where my pain was an inconvenience. That summer, I started sleeping in the basement. Not because it was cooler, though it was, but because it was farther from them. I told Mom it helped my skin, that I read somewhere sleeping underground reduced inflammation. She called me obsessive and desperate, but she didn't stop me. She never stopped anything. You want to know something sick? I spent years blaming myself for being the boring twin, the heavier one. The one boys didn't look at twice unless they were trying to get close to Lila. I thought maybe if I could just be more like her, smile more, starve more, lie more, they'd love me too. But I couldn't do it. I watched Lila lie to our teachers about why her homework wasn't done, flirt her way out of speeding tickets at 17, steal lip glosses from the drugstore, and blame me. And Mom would just say, "You should be more like your sister. She has presence." Presence. As if existing loudly made her valuable. As if my quietness, my kindness, my need to be good, was weakness. That year I stopped eating for a while. Not in an attention-seeking way, just to see if it would change things. I dropped weight fast, and Mom noticed. At first, she made sarcastic comments, "Oh, finally found some willpower?" But then she started buying me clothes again. Complimenting me. I think she even bragged to one of her friends at the nail salon. Lila noticed too. She started leaving cake in the fridge, whispering calories don't count after midnight when I'd come upstairs to get water. I'd find bags of chips in my laundry basket. She'd say she was trying to be supportive. Supportive, like cutting my brakes and poisoning my relationship. I don't know what clicked, but one night, I just snapped. I was sitting at the dinner table. Lila had just gotten back from a party and was showing off a bracelet some guy gave her. Mom was nodding along, sipping her cucumber water. I was invisible as usual. And then I said, "Lila tried to kill me." Dead silence. Lila blinked. "Excuse me?" I looked right at Mom. She cut the brakes on my bike. "I almost died. And you didn't care." Mom set her glass down. "What a thing to say," she muttered. "Is this because you feel left out again? Do you even hear yourself?" I asked. She could have killed me. And you know what Lila did? She laughed. "I didn't think you'd actually write it," she said. "God, you're so sensitive." It was a joke. A joke. Mom's response? She was just being silly. "You need to toughen up." That's when I knew. There was no saving this. No fixing it. My family didn't want me safe. They wanted me silent. They needed me to be the lesser twin. So I started planning. I moved out 3 weeks later. I didn't announce it. I didn't make some dramatic scene like Lila probably expected, hoping I'd throw a tantrum so she could call me unhinged to all our relatives. No. I packed what I could carry: notebooks, clothes, the one photo of me as a kid where I looked genuinely happy, and I left. It was 4 a.m. I remember the air was cold, and I could see my breath even though it was summer. Maybe it was nerves. Maybe it was fear. I stood outside for a minute, looking up at my mother's bedroom window. Her light was on. She always fell asleep watching exercise infomercials. Inside that house was the sister who'd tried to ruin my body and the mother who had already ruined my spirit. I didn't say goodbye. I couch-hopped for a while. A friend from college let me crash on her futon. I worked mornings at a bakery, evenings at a bookstore. I started saving, started living. I learned to say no without guilt. I started eating again, not to lose or gain, but to nourish. Because I mattered. And in that time away, something inside me hardened. Not in a bitter way, but in a clear-eyed, steel-spined way. I started to see what they'd done for what it was: abuse. Not sibling rivalry. Not maternal, tough love. Abuse. There's this moment that stands out. I was watching myself in a mirror at the bookstore, fixing my hair in the employee bathroom, when I realized I didn't flinch anymore. I didn't jump when someone touched my arm. I didn't constantly worry about being too much or not enough. I had started to heal. But healing is messy. It's full of nights where you remember things you've buried. Like the time I got my period early and bled through my jeans at school, and Lila told everyone I peed myself. Or the time my mother found a story I wrote where the mom character was cruel, and she ripped it in half and said, "This is why no one loves you. You're dramatic and mean." I started therapy. It was slow going. I didn't even know how to talk about some of it. I kept trying to make it sound smaller than it was, like I didn't want the therapist to think I was just looking for sympathy. But one day, she stopped me mid-sentence and said, "Why are you protecting the people who hurt you?" That wrecked me. Because I was still scared of being the bad daughter, the ungrateful sister. But screw that. I wrote Lila a letter. Not to forgive. Not to reconnect. Just to say it. Everything she'd done. Every bruise she left on my body and my brain. Every time she told someone I was obsessed with her. Every time she baited me, mocked me, pushed me to the edge, and smiled like she was doing me a favor. I sent it certified mail. Just so I'd know she got it. Never heard back. Didn't expect to. What I didn't expect, what truly blindsided me, was what happened to them. A few years passed. I built a life. Got my own apartment. A job I loved in editing. I was writing again, stories that no longer ended with girls forgiving their abusers, just to be seen as good. I started dating. Carefully, slowly. I was learning what it felt like to be safe with someone. Then I got the call. It was from my cousin. She sounded nervous. "Hey, have you seen them lately?" "No." "Why?" "Well, Lila's not doing so hot. Neither is your mom." Apparently, my mom had gone in for a consultation about a facelift and ended up spiraling when the surgeon suggested her skin was too damaged from years of tanning and crash diets. Lila, meanwhile, had gotten dumped by a guy who told her he couldn't date someone so insecure and mean. And, I guess, something cracked. I didn't believe it until I saw them. There was a wedding, distant family, neutral ground. I almost didn't go, but curiosity won. They were there. My mother, thinner than I remembered, her cheeks hollowed out like paper, eyes sunken from too many cleanses and too little rest. And Lila, jaw clenched, makeup cracking around her eyes, a shell of the girl who once stood over me in triumph after slashing my tires. Yeah, she did that too, but that's another story. When they saw me, it was like the floor gave out beneath them. They weren't crying for me. They were crying because they saw themselves in the mirror of what they had become. The brittle, bitter women who tore another down to feel tall. And I walked past them like I didn't even recognize them. I wish I could say I felt victorious walking past them at that wedding. I didn't. I felt free. There's a difference. Victory implies I beat them. But the truth is, they were already losing, fighting a war against time, against irrelevance, against the self-hatred they dressed in lip gloss and compliments for so many years. My mother looked at me like I was a ghost she thought she'd buried. Lila just looked confused, like she couldn't place me in her old mental map of control and competition. I didn't fit the role anymore. I wasn't the lesser twin. I wasn't the awkward one, the chubby one, the quiet one with the stupid dreams. I was the one who got out. A week after the wedding, I got an email from my mother. Subject line, "Let's talk." No salutation. No warmth. Just lines of guilt masquerading as concern. "You looked different. I didn't know if I should approach you. I didn't want to upset you. But I hope we can reconnect. I've been working on myself. I've lost another 11 pounds and started journaling. I hope you're proud of me." Proud? This woman watched her daughter come home bleeding and blamed her thighs. She let Lila destroy me, inch by inch, because the pretty one was easier to brag about. I didn't respond. 2 days later, another email from Lila. "Guess you think you're so evolved now. I'm sorry if I ever did anything that upset you, but honestly, you were always so sensitive. Everything was a crisis with you. I know you hated being compared, but that's just life. People compare. And yeah, maybe I took things too far, but you let me. You just sat there. That's on you too." That one almost made me laugh. The idea that I let her torment me, like a child lets their abuser in. Like it was my passivity that justified the pain. I didn't respond to her either. Because here's the thing, healing isn't about proving anything to the people who broke you. It's about choosing not to need their version of your story anymore. And mine? It was finally becoming my own. I started publishing. Just small pieces at first, essays, short fiction, personal reflections about women who survived the unthinkable. A few got picked up by lit journals. I started receiving emails from strangers. Women who said, "I saw myself in your words." I thought I was alone. That was the first time I cried for real in years. Not out of pain, out of recognition, out of release. Meanwhile, back in their little world, the cracks deepened. My mother's obsession with thinness became her undoing. She ended up in the ER from a heart arrhythmia brought on by her third juice cleanse in a month. My aunt told me she'd fainted while jogging in 95-degree heat because she wanted to sweat out the guilt of a sandwich. She was 62 and still terrified of a sandwich. Lila's beauty gigs dried up. She tried to build a following on Instagram, but couldn't keep the followers. People started commenting on how mean girl energy doesn't age well. I saw one post, a forced smile, overly filtered photo captioned, "Feeling grateful, love," and I could see it in her eyes. She wasn't grateful. She was panicking. Years of being the sun had left her with no idea how to be anything else. She messaged me once on Instagram, just a heart emoji after I posted a picture of my first published chapbook. I blocked her, because I wasn't going to be her audience anymore. You know what's wild? They still see me as angry. That's their narrative. I'm cold, I'm unforgiving, I'm distant. But here's what they'll never understand. Anger didn't destroy me. Their apathy did. And the quiet rage that built inside me, that thing they mocked for years, became the fuel I used to become. Not better than them. Just real. I went back to my hometown once last year, for a reading. A local bookstore had picked up my book. My name was on a chalkboard sign out front, An Evening with S.H. Clarke, Stories on Survival and Rebirth. That was me now. A woman who didn't flinch when people called her by her name. I saw my reflection in the glass door as I walked in. I looked calm, present. Nothing like the girl who once begged her mother to believe she was in danger. Nothing like the girl who used to pray her sister would love her instead of hurt her. Just me, whole. There's a myth about healing that says it comes with a loud moment, some dramatic showdown, a final confrontation, fireworks, and closure. That never happened for me. I never screamed at my mother until she cried. I never watched Lila collapse under the weight of her guilt. I never got the cinematic apology or the satisfying snap of justice. What I got was distance. And that was enough. I still get emails from them. Not often and never anything real. Just digital smoke signals pretending to be olive branches. Just wanted to check in. We saw your photo in the paper. You looked different. Your cousin's baby shower is next month. Are you coming? Lila's been having a hard time. It would mean a lot if you reached out. It took me a long time to understand this, but those messages aren't invitations to heal, they're bait. Hooks disguised as hope. They don't want reconciliation. They want access to my peace, my life, my proof that I survived without them. But healing isn't performative. It doesn't exist to make your abusers feel better. I used to keep a folder in my email labeled "Maybe Later." I'd drag their messages there, just in case I ever wanted to revisit. Just in case I found the strength to forgive. A couple months ago, I deleted the whole thing. There was no satisfaction. Just quiet. And that's what healing really feels like. Quiet. Not numbness. Not denial. Just space. Inside your body. Like a room that's been cleared out. Like finally being able to breathe. Last fall, I stood on a stage in a library in another state, far from where I grew up, and read a piece from my second book. It was about two sisters. One who silenced the other for years, and the one who learned how to scream without raising her voice. The Q&A after was short. A teenage girl in the front row raised her hand and asked, "Did you ever forgive them?" I told her the truth. No. But I forgave myself for wanting to. The room went quiet for a second. Then she nodded, like she understood something too big to put into words. I saw myself in her. The younger me. The girl who thought survival meant enduring. Who thought family meant loyalty even when it rotted you from the inside out. That girl is gone now. Not dead. Just evolved. She grew into someone who doesn't answer when guilt knocks. Someone who sets boundaries like stone walls, not sandcastles. Someone who knows that being the lesser twin was never about worth, just about perspective. Meanwhile, Lila and my mother have been unraveling slowly, like a badly knit sweater. Last I heard, Lila started going to group therapy, not because she wanted to change, but because her latest boyfriend told her she needed to stop being emotionally abusive. Oh, the irony. She posted a quote the other day, "You can't heal in the same environment that broke you." It had 3 likes. One of them was my mother. I laughed out loud. They've started painting themselves as survivors now. Victims of toxic family cycles. I'm sure in their version, I'm the villain, the one who turned her back on forgiveness. Who never gave them a chance. They probably cry together now, mourning the sister and daughter I refuse to be. I used to want to set the record straight. Now I don't even care. Because peace isn't about being understood by people who only ever saw you as a mirror for themselves. Peace is knowing that you understand you. And I do. Every so often, I still have dreams. In one, I'm riding that old bike down the hill again. The brakes don't work, and I feel the ground rushing up toward me. But right before I crash, I jump. I land on my feet. I look up, and no one is waiting at the bottom. No mother to minimize it. No sister to smile like it's all a game. Just me, standing, breathing, free.